we'll just get right into it. Let's not waste too much time. So, show of hands, how many of you have worked on a product that has failed or know of a product that has failed or never made it to market? How many know, heard of? Of course. That's something, it happens a lot. It does happen a lot more than we hope to say or we wish. It happens too many times. Sometimes between vision, having that big idea, having that exciting thing that you want to work on and executing, there's something that just goes wrong, right? And that's what we're going to be getting into today. We're going to be getting into how we can bridge that gap, how we can go from vision to value, how we'll be exploring innovation, execution, ideation, iteration, right? And just making sure that when we solve a problem, it actually matters. So I'm Tobi. I'm a product manager. I work at Kuda. I build credit products. I have a cat and a dog. Most products fail because there isn't a market need. Nobody's asking for it. You see something you think is a great idea, you think should be a product, and you build something, and there isn't really any uptake in the people that you're building for. Or the execution is bad. As I've said, somewhere between having this idea and getting it out to the public, there's a problem. You just don't execute well. Or, as I said, you don't iterate. You build this product and then you sit down and think, yeah, that's it. And then you don't build on what you've built or take feedback from the data that you're getting from your customers. And those are the major reasons why products fail. And if there's any 3 things that I want you guys to hold, I guess, in your left hand in this session, is that there are 3 main pillars of building a successful product. Once you have the vision, once you have this idea of a product or a problem, you understand it, you've identified this clear problem, right? You go into execution, and this is where you translate this idea into what you want to take out. And then the third part is the iteration. I'm talking about how if you get a product, right, once you build it, that's the beginning. Once you get it to market, that's the beginning. You need to, from there, continue building on that product. So those are the 3 main pillars of building a successful product. And as I've said, I want you guys to hold that in your left hand, because if vision alone is not enough, execution alone is not enough, iteration alone is not enough. 3 of them have to kind of work together to build or get to where you want to get to. And here is where we'll be getting into some of the feedback, right? So what's a product you love and why? Can you scan the QR code and tell me? Everybody, please. So what's a product you love? You can either go to slido.com and use the code, or just the QR code. So what's a product you love and why? So who wants to say something first?
Hello, everyone. A product I like is this noise-canceling headphones.
Okay.
They allow me to focus. So it just zeroes out the world, and I'm able to, focus on work.
All right. Anyone else wants to add? Okay, you. Yeah. What's the product you love? WhatsApp. Why? Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, we need one more person. Okay.
So digitally, Instagram.
Okay.
And basically, it lost it.
Oh, same. Well, we'll just go with Instagram. All right. Thank you. And I want you all to look at these 3 products, right? And from the 3 pillars that I spoke about, I can see a lot here. Okay, Clever. I know Clever. I love Clever. Splitwise. Receives, make, eat. What? But Chowdeck, I can see. Bolts, I can see. Right. So that's great. I can see more people are typing too. So Piggy Vest, because it's different. All right. I'm guessing that's the why, right? And the why is because it's different. Easy is coming out here. Okay, I think we'll just take that. But the gist of these products, right, is that they were able to have a vision, they executed, and then they iterated, right? With the noise canceling headphones, I'm very sure that they weren't always noise canceling, right? We started with headphones, and then there was a question of, oh, I don't want to hear anybody else when I'm in my world, right? And then the execution and the iteration. The iteration was getting feedback from customers. How better can we, or how can we make these noise canceling headphones better? Instagram, I had already mentioned with the brown logo and what have you. And then now you can do all sorts on Instagram. WhatsApp, who remembers WhatsApp of that time? Right? WhatsApp with just the sending messages. If someone didn't have their number on WhatsApp, that was it, right? Now, you can use your number, but you can also do so much more. You can call, you can video chat, so much more. You can have communities, right? Iteration. So there was a vision, there was the execution, and then there was the iteration of those products. All right, the next thing is innovating with purpose. And what does innovation really mean? I don't know if, well, not everybody must have been in the previous one with Bayo, but he had spoken about innovating and what innovation really means, how it shouldn't be complex. Innovation isn't always complex, and all of that. And it's nice that he had said that, because truly innovation isn't about building something entirely new. It's about solving a problem effectively, right? So we had gone into different situations that needed innovation and how to solve those problems. And the truth is that if you don't understand your users deeply, if you don't understand how to meet their needs better than anyone else, then what are you innovating on, right? And that's really what innovation means. Innovating isn't about building some skyscraper on the clouds, right? It's about understanding what your customers are doing. How can you meet those needs better than anyone else? How can you compete sensibly in the market? And make money, of course, but you get what I'm trying to say. And so we're going to take 2 case studies for innovating with purpose. But the first is Flutterwave. And the gist with Flutterwave is that they tackled a big problem that African businesses were facing, right? Cross-border payments. People really wanted to be able to receive and send money across borders. And something that I also want you all to keep in mind is I had spoken about how we need to solve problems that matter. We need to solve problems for people as they really want it or when they really want it. There needs to be a market need, right? So these solutions, thank you. These solutions need to be worth building, need to be worth solving, right? And that's what Flutterwave did. They understood the problem, they leveraged technology, and then they iterated based on market feedback, right? So Flutterwave is a great case study. Another great case study is Paystack. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember where I was when I saw the tweet about Stripe getting or acquiring Paystack. Who else remembers that day? I was like, money, right? These people are a great case study on being able to balance the different things going on with a product or how to get a product out. Building or innovating isn't about ignoring constraints, because with Paystack and the solution they have built, essentially innovated around a problem, a constraint, and they were able to balance desirability, feasibility, and viability. Desirability being, do people want it? Do users actually want this solution that you're thinking about, this innovation, this idea you have? Feasibility, is it possible? Do we have the tech? Do we have the money? Is it feasible, right? Is it something that we can actually do? And viability, because at the end of the day, we're trying to make money. So is this something that will bring money? Is this something that people are actually looking to pay for? We can have an idea for several things, but is it worth solving, right? And Paystack was able to balance that. So they balanced user needs with seamless online payments, with feasibility, these developer-friendly API integrations, and business goals. So they were able to scale, have partnerships, and all of that leading to Stripe acquiring them. For how many million of dollars? Right? If you were to fix something in your industry, what would it be? Does anyone want to jump in on that?
I wouldn't say I'm in any industry right now. I'm actually in school.
Okay.
But if I take that as an industry, I'll say what I want to fix is the outdated syllabus, because I feel like the syllabus is not actually handling things, or is not giving us resources that are in tune with this digital
Modern.
economy. Yeah, so I feel
Yeah.
like it's a bit backdated. So I think that's something I would love to fix.
Yeah, that's a real problem. I don't know how many people here studied engineering, but I did. And in my time, they taught us Fortran. I, I don't know if they're still teaching Fortran. Are they still teaching Fortran? They're not teaching Fortran again. Thank God. They're still teaching Fortran. So just imagine, and at that time, people were already writing Python. People were already writing C Sharp, C++. I don't know why they decided on Fortran, but it seems they are still teaching. They are still teaching. Hopefully, it's better, right? But the problem, though, and when we think about the problem, is it something that people actually want? They are still teaching Fortran. We don't want it anymore. So yes, like that's a really big problem. Is it feasible? Yes, now, these people should change it. It's possible for them to change it. At least they increase fuel price. They can change something, right? And viability. Will it sustain hopefully, will it sustain the business? Hopefully now, if you're teaching engineers better things, then maybe, things won't be so bad. Our roads will be better. People will make more money. So, long story short, desirability, feasibility, and viability, being able to balance all of that. Do users want it? Can we build it? And will it sustain the business? All of that is important to managing execution. All right. Whatever problem it is you've realized that is happening in your industry, is it something that is desirable? Are people actually facing this problem, or is it just a you thing? Is it just a certain set of people? Even if it's a certain set of people, are they willing to pay money for this your solution? Right? Are they willing to shell out the big bucks for this thing that you're bringing forward? And also, even if they are willing, is it something that is possible to be built? Is it something that we can actually build? People might want to get to the United States in 2 minutes, right? I might want to be from here, get to Arizona right now. Is it possible, given the technology that we currently have? That's also something to think about. So people might be willing to pay good money for that. I'm very sure there are billionaires around the world that would want to be able to move from one place to another in minutes or seconds, right? But is it technically feasible at this time? So that's something to think about when you're thinking around like solutioning and building things. All right, thank you. I like the energy is coming up. The energy is coming up. All right, so let's get into managing execution. So we've spoken about how to think around solutions, a problem you're facing, and how you can think of like the solutioning around that, the idea, thinking about how you can execute now, and how to now manage that. What's your role in driving the execution and making sure that what you're building makes sense, right? And the truth is that most good ideas die in execution because the way you're thinking about it, the way you envision it, might not be the way it's put together and brought out to the public, right? And so it doesn't matter how wonderful your idea is, if you don't have the right pieces together for execution, then it will definitely fail. And that's what we're going to get into. And why do great ideas die? There are, in my experience, there are three main reasons why. No clarity, the first thing, right? We don't know what, we understand the why, but we don't know the what really, right? We know that, oh, I don't know, people aren't watching TV. But, okay, so what are we going to do about it? How can we bring that to life? How can we execute on this idea or this problem that we found, right? Two, feature creep. And this one is something that I battle in my day-to-day as well as a product manager. Feature creep. Everybody has a bright idea. Everybody wants something. Everybody wants something added or built. But is it important given what we're trying to do? If you have a product that, you have a product that on that same product you can order a ride, on that same product you can put on your touch lights, on that same product you can transfer money, on that same product you can buy hair. That product doesn't have a head or a tail. It doesn't really have a reason, right? It's just bloated. Your customers are confused about that product. And that's where feature creep comes in, right? If I go to a new state or a new country and I want to go from the airport to maybe my Airbnb or the hotel, and I ask someone there, oh, what app can I download? I'm sure somebody will mention Uber, someone will mention Bolt, someone will mention InDrive or whatever, right? But if you have that same product, remember the product that you can order rides, you can on touch lights, you can do this, you can do that. There's a chance people will forget to name your product because that product is just everything but nothing, right? It's doing everything but nothing. I don't know if you guys heard about Elon Musk saying he wants to build an everything app. I'm giving it side eye. Side eye because when a product does everything, there's a good chance, and I'm not saying maybe if he does it or they do it well, right? But there's a good chance it will do everything but nothing well. People don't know it for something. When you go on Netflix, you're trying to watch something. You're trying to watch, I don't know, Gilmore Girls or Friends or whatever, right? If you go on your call app, you're trying to call someone, FaceTime, right? If Netflix also calls, also transfers money, also orders food, it sounds nice. It does sound nice because who doesn't want to be on Netflix and get food delivered? Actually, now, don't steal my idea. Maybe we keep that in this room, right? But if a product does everything but nothing well, that's a problem, and that's feature creep. And then the third one is prioritization, no prioritization. Everybody wants to build, that's their idea right now. You want to build a bicycle, and you want to build a car, and you want to build every single thing right now. You don't know how to prioritize and move things iteratively. You don't know how to build iteratively. And in the other class, Bayo had mentioned something about failing fast, and I strongly believe in that. Let's get it out to the market first, because it's when we get to the market that we would even know what works. We might have this idea, and we might have done some user research, and people are saying, yes, I will definitely pay for it. But then we get it out to the public, but it doesn't stick. Who remembers Abeg? The Abeg app. It was so nice. The idea was so nice. Being able to beg your friends for money and be like, oh, send me. Send me money. And your friends will bless you on the Abeg app, right? So nice, but it didn't stick for some reason, right? So you need to be able to fail fast. It's a great idea. I'm sure there must have been some user research. People be like, yes, that's the one. Even now, talking about it, it's still a nice idea, but something was wrong. And if you don't go out to the market, you won't learn, and you won't know that your idea is bad, and then you won't be able to go back and iterate, right? So there are several things that can go wrong with an idea, but no clarity, feature creep, No prioritization. All right, let's move to the next thing. And in all of this, right, this is where Agile comes in. All this feature creep, all this no prioritization, right? If you, if we always wanted to build a means of transportation, and we started with the current aeroplane, or we started with the current Tesla, you know, that's out and about right now, we would have taken so many years to get there. But as humans, we started with bicycles, and then we went into those weird-looking cars. I don't know if you've seen those old ones. And then we went into what we have now, and then the Tesla, and on like that. And that's iterative development. So validate assumptions early, get out to the market, fail fast, go back, iterate, right? The next one is prioritization. It's difficult in real life to remember rice and ice and reach, impact, all those things, right? But if you have the base knowledge, you have the base idea, then you can always keep that at the back of your mind in everything that you're going to be doing. When you're prioritizing, you know that, okay, I need to think about how much impact will this thing have? Am I really confident in this solution? Is the effort going to be more than the thing that it's going to bring back to my team or to the business or what have you? You think about that. And the MVP approach, I had spoken about, failing fast, getting it out to the market. Build the smallest thing. You have this idea, build this small. In fact, you don't even have to build anything, right? You just have to be able to get it out to the market. Let people touch it, feel it, get that feedback, and then quickly come back, iterate. That's the way to get it out, right? And then continuous user testing, validation, short feedback loops. Don't let your customers be too far from you, especially if you're building a new product, right? You want the customers to be able to tell you when something is going wrong. And you need to also not be far from your customers. You need to have analytics in place. You need to be able to see where are customers having the most problem on your product, with your product. It doesn't matter what it is, whether a software product or, products facing you and I, right? Real life tangible product. It doesn't have to be a software product, but being able to have your customers tell you, oh, this is what they're feeling about the product, be able to be there and have that short feedback loop really, really helps. All right, so we've gone on to talk about like how products fail, building a successful product, desirability, feasibility, viability, all of that. But how do we now know that all these things that we've thought about, or we've talked about rather, is working? How do we know that we are actually being successful in building this product? And that's where measuring success comes in, right? When you set your key metrics, you set retention metrics, net promoter score, engagement, how often do customers use this product, revenue, how much money is this product bringing? Because we're trying to make money, right? So we're not building because we are a charity. Even charities expect some kind of money to come into the work, right? So are people coming back? That's the retention, And then setting clear OKRs and KPIs. The OKRs will help you think about your long-term vision. As I said, if we are talking about how modes of transportation went, we want to be able to move from point A to point B as quickly as possible. That's your long-term vision. So you have an OKR that you keep in mind. And then your KPI will help you with your day-to-day. We want to build the tire of the bicycle today. That's your KPI. We want to build the handle tomorrow. That's a KPI. Keep that in mind, and that will help you with moving from day-to-day to month to year-on-year. Right? And then I had spoken about this shortly, but iterate with data. The best product teams don't work or build products based on, I feel like. You need to have some kind of data backing your assumptions or your theories. If you're thinking, it's like customers don't like that we're asking them too many questions when they want to pay for something, you can experiment with that, right? Remove the form asking them for questions or asking them questions and see if more customers finish their payment journey before the other ones that are still on the form trying to fill out the form. Like, you need to be able to iterate. You need to be able to experiment with your customers. In my day-to-day, I constantly experiment with my customers. Oh, will customers be more likely to take a loan if this happens or if that happens, right? So iterate with data. Something I didn't mention, and I want to mention with Andela, is being able to be flexible. And when the data says move, change direction, you should be able to. right? If, for instance, you build a spoon and your customers are using it as a shovel, then maybe in your head you should be thinking, should I build this spoon bigger so that my customers can use it as a shovel very well? That's what you should be thinking about, right? And that's what Andela did. So Andela started out with training software engineers and putting them with global companies. And then they now found out that that training model is taking time, wasting money. People aren't really looking to be trained. And they even had this, because I was a software engineer, they had this 4-year thing called sharing plan, where if they train you, they'll take out of your salary for the next 4 years. That's a bit ridiculous. So now, they now have this thing where they pre-vet senior engineers or mid-level to senior engineers, and they just place them. And so they get their money already, right? And then the engineers are also working for global companies already. And that really saved Andela, because Andela was already, forgive my French, but going to shit at the time, right? If they continued training engineers and just having to waste 4 years or more, having to recoup the money they have spent training those engineers, where would Andela be? So as the main point is being able to pivot quickly when you see the data moving in a different way. As I said about the spoon and the shovel, if your customers are saying they are using it as a shovel, who are you to argue, right? I don't want to get into too many examples, but I don't know if you all know about OnlyFans. OnlyFans started out as an app where content creators could just speak to their customers and get closer to their customers. And then they put it in the hands of their customers, and the customers started using it the way they use it, right? So would they now say, no, don't use it like that? Leave my products, leave my app. They quickly pivoted, and now OnlyFans has a whole economy behind it, right? So if your customers are using it, don't be scared to pivot. Be flexible. Move. It's not you that will tell your customers how to use your products. Customers will tell you what they are using it for, and then you need to be able to move. The gist and everything that I really want you guys to think of or take away from all of this, my talk, is one, vision is very important, but it's not enough. You need to be able to execute properly for you to get your vision out to the public, right? You can have, OnlyFans had the whole idea about, content creators being close to their customers or their people, right? And then execution, they went out to the public, it's not the same, right? You need to be able to go from vision to execution properly. Innovation must solve real problems. You need to be able to say, is this a real problem, or is it a problem that only I and a certain people have? Even when you get there, are they willing to pay for this solution that you have, right? Innovation must solve real problems. If users don't care, it won't succeed. And the last is iteration is key. Launching is just the beginning. In fact, whenever I'm on a team where we launch a new product, that's not thank God, that's work has just started, because that's where you learn on what your customers are actually going to be doing, what your customers are going to use your product for, and then you can now iterate on that, right? And so the summation is the best products aren't just built, they are continuously shaped by those who care about solving real problems. Continuously shaped being the constant iteration that goes into building products. So Q&A, I don't know if we have the time. We have the time. So I think I can take 1 or 2 questions if anyone has.
So how do you bridge the gap between what your customers want and trying to also maintain that regulatory guidelines? Because, for example, there is also the issue of what TikTok is being used in America and what's being used in China. Mm-hmm. So how do you try to marry this gap?
Well, the truth is that in my day-to-day, I fight with compliance people a lot. I fight with them a lot because the truth, they are more bothered about the government and what the government is doing. I'm more bothered about my customers and what my customers would like. A real example literally happening to me right now is on credits, right? We have this thing where customers are supposed to get their OTP and they go to their email to get the OTP, come back into the app to type it into the OTP. And I realized that customers drop off there because, come on now, you're sending this thing to my email, I have to go and dig maybe it's spam, and then I have to come back and then type it, and it's just a long process. The gist is that the government wants us to be able to say this customer actually really wanted to use this product. That's why the OTP is there, right? But I'm also coming to the table with the compliance person saying, this thing is making customers get tired and leave the app. So we have to form or strike a balance. And that's just what it has to be. When you're building a product that has the government on one side and you innovating on another side, you have to try to strike a balance. Because after God is government. If government says no to your app, you are gonna go, right? But you also want to make money. You want to make money, right? So if you're thinking about a solution, try to strike a balance with what the government is going to be able to allow versus how you can bring it to the customer. Innovation comes in several different ways, right? You can innovate around the government. I used to build fraud detection systems where we had to be able to tell when someone is fraudulent and report them to the government. But we also have people that were going to be scared to use our app because we usually report them to government, right? So you need to be able to innovate around that. How big is this your fraud? Is this something we need to tell the government about, or is this something that we just need to close your account? So you need to innovate around that. I'm not saying that that's what I did, but you need to be able to innovate around problems, right? So try to strike a balance is the gist. All right. Okay. Thank you. This conference is very relevant to the present day world because you come here and you leave with insights and tips and tricks, understanding and different experiences of various experts in the Scrum and product management world. It's been very exciting to be here, and I'm sure everyone here has learned a thing or two of about how to build products.